And they say that, don't they? Strategy is a collection of coherent decisions to deliver a plan.
Yeah, so influence through empathy rather than manipulation, which would be the non-Machiavellian way of doing things.
You've got to really force yourself into type 2 thinking, but that's where you get your better decisions. It's about self-awareness again, isn't it?
Well, and you need lots of inputs if you're going to make good decisions.
Confronting brutal facts, and if you're going to be optimistic, then make sure that the facts back that up. Otherwise, you're just deluding yourself.
Got a choice: history of the Fabian Society, or Brian Johnson cloning himself to make parts for his failing body.
They're the two topics I could choose from.
The two topics.
As a warm up. Well, I did hear something about the Fabian Society.
Mm.
A long ago. It was on a thing.
Do you know what their logo used to be?
Someone told me. Hang on. No, I can't bring it to mind.
A wolf in sheep's clothing.
That was it.
So it's named after, I can't quite remember the name of the Roman general, but a Roman general, Maximus something or other, Fabian,
right,
whose tactic was more about the slow incremental victory rather than a full-on assault. So evolution rather than revolution.
I get it, right.
A lot of the groundwork for what we see today laid by the one and only Tony Blair.
You sound like a fan.
No, well, I'm not a fan. But yeah, a lot of what people don't know is that they were heavily into eugenics back in when that was fashionable in the early 20th century. That was a big part of the...
What's brought this onto your radar recently then? Or is it just something that you're...
That's Mr. Burnham, isn't it? He's in the club.
He's a Fabian man.
He's a Fabian man. Every Labour Prime Minister has been a Fabian member.
A member of the Fabian Society. It's quite an interesting example of movements as well, isn't it? How you build a movement. Remember that came out of that Wreath lecture series that we did? Yeah. That was an example how they managed to get an awful lot of people moving slowly forwards, and it became fashionable to be part of the society.
But, yeah, what was I going to say? There was another interesting point on it, actually.
Nothing to do with cloning body parts.
No, that's a different thing. You can have that one for free. So you know Brian Johnson, tech, sold his SaaS company, I don't know what it was, but for multiple hundreds of millions or something.
Google it,
So he's 48. Have a guess what his biological age is.
38.
18.
How's he done that then?
I think by like...
Is he not the guy that gets his son
to donate blood?
So
anyway, he's been diagnosed with some autoimmune disease, so it's sad. But not deterred by this fact, he has cloned himself.
What, in bits?
Well, he's got a baby Brian, as he calls him, is in a petri dish.
Right.
And he's going to use this clone to do experiments on to see if he can cure himself or to get, bits.
There seems to be an awful lot of rich people spending a lot of money.
What's going on? It's going crazy, isn't it?
Immortal.
So...
Would you want to be immortal?
Well...
I don't know. I think I might get a bit bored after 1,000 years.
Depends where you are, doesn't it, really?
I suppose. A Highlander thing. Right. Well, we've got quite a bit to get through today, so I'm thinking that I'm going to have to come back to those topics. Interesting that they are, and get a bit more in depth.
Yeah, it wasn't very. There's not levity in today's opening.
That was certainly.
We were straight into
ready for serious topics.
Well, I had prepared when we had 2 other episodes. They actually linked into those episodes, so they now don't. So
well,
you got them anyway.
We'll come back to them. Well, should we instead do an ordinary podcast?
We should do an ordinary podcast.
This episode is sponsored by GoCardless. Running a business can mean spending far too much time just trying to get paid. GoCardless automates bank payments so you can collect what you're owed on time without chasing. Over 100,000 businesses worldwide already trust them. Businesses typically spend 59% less time managing payments and get paid 47% faster. Better cash flow, less admin, and more time to grow. If getting paid is taking up more time than it should, fix it with GoCardless. Head to gocardless.com/podcast to claim 90 days fee-free. T's and C's apply. Hello and welcome to another episode of the SME Growth Podcast from Wellmeadow, where we try and come up with something useful or interesting every week for owners and managers of small and medium-sized enterprises. And remember, we use enterprises because it's all about spirit of adventure.
Rather than business.
Rather than just boring old business. What episode are we on? 183? 183.
183, yes.
Now, I'm hoping that you've got a list.
I've got a list. So,
What was the previous
schools on
three?
the doors. 180 was the great SME squeeze. So we talked
Oh,
about
squeeze.
cost pressures and
Yeah.
expectations, etc.
Yeah, big companies
Big
heighten the
companies.
expectations, but you've got fleet of foot on your side. Yeah.
181, the power of business advocates. So that was based off the HBR article where we looked at turning customers into advocates
Yeah, and the process for doing
and how
so.
to do so. And then 182 was, are you putting your prices up enough?
Yes,
That was
I'm
the pricing.
be interested to see what sort of feedback we get from that. It came out with some very interesting board discussions and led to some interesting board discussions around pricing. And it's a topic that we were nearly going to do today around about when do you know where you win and where you don't?
Mm.
What's your win rate breakdown based on all sorts of things? So we may come back to that as a topic because
Yep.
that definitely informs both pricing and all of the other P's.
Mm.
Okay, good. So today we thought we would do something that's a bit more summer themed. People going off on their hollybobs
Yep.
and they're going to maybe take a book with them. Do you think many people do that?
Kindle.
Yeah, or maybe Kindle. Certainly airport bookshops seem to be absolutely loaded with self-help and management books.
Mm.
So we thought we'd do the opposite of a deep dive, but a very high-level skim through a randomly selected, or maybe not quite randomly selected, half a dozen or so very well-read, popular management books.
Yep.
And just remind people that they're there.
Mm.
Maybe either whet their appetite to read it in full, save them the bother, because we give
Yep.
them the only fact that it had within it that's any use, and that's it. Once they
Exactly,
know
the
you know it.
nugget.
Or avoid like plague, or whatever. So, yeah, that's what we thought we'd do. Should we
Yep.
go with that?
Yep, so it's just...
So, there's only one book I could think of that you could start this list with, because it is the most, as I understand, the most read management book in history. And it's of some age now. This is, 35 years old. Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He's done a few books since, Living the 7 Habits and doing all those other things. But it all started way back in 1989 with it. And the main premise is that it's all about you looking after yourself and making sure that you're more effective, building your character and building your techniques around that. And I remember he opens up, and I've told this story, I think I've told you on the podcast before, but I've told this story at school talks. He opens up with this anecdote of walking along the street, going into the church just for a rest, sitting down at the back, and he realises, I'm going to summarise this very, very quickly, realises it's his funeral, listens to 4 people giving speeches at his funeral, and then decides that he's still got time to actually influence what those people would say. And that's the premise for the book, really, to say that before you just bumble through life, how about imagining what you want people to say about you at the end, and then living it that way.
I actually suggested to somebody once they should have a funeral before they died. They need.
Think anybody's ever done that? That would be cool, wouldn't
It's
it?
a good idea, isn't it?
Do you think people would be as honest?
Depends how close you were.
Some people were really quite rude about Anne Widdecombe after she passed just recently. And I think,
shocking.
I think maybe when someone has passed away, especially in the immediate aftermath, it's beholden on you to maybe hold back on some of your criticisms. And
One would think.
respect, one would think. So one that we
Okay.
keep quoting from Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind.
Yep.
We must have said that a million times to every new recruit, to loads of clients, everybody really.
Yep.
Begin with the end in mind. Put the first things first.
Yep.
Or another way I do that is make sure you keep the main thing the main thing. Or the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. That's a good one. Sharpen the saw. People have heard of that.
Yep.
So these are all phrases coming out of his book. And I think there's so many little nuggets in that. It's quite inspirational. It does get a bit religious in the last chapter, but he doesn't. It's not woven all the way through. So that will appeal to some and less so to others. But I would wholeheartedly recommend that book, I think, if you've not read it before. But the chances are, statistically, you have already.
Read it. So number 2, an oldie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, now this is even older than my 1989 example.
We're going backwards in time.
Well, I hope we don't keep going backwards. We're going to be going into
Except with the Bible.
papyrus manuscripts and goodness what.
Textus Receptus. So I guess this is like people don't change just by being...
You haven't said what the book is yet.
Oh, I said How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, did you say that?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I was
Clearly my
not listening.
influence is waning.
How to win friends.
Yeah, people
and
rarely
people.
change just because of facts and figures and things, but they feel when they're respected, understood, valued, that type of thing. So how can you... I suppose the thing with this is how to do it genuinely and not be Machiavellian, which is another good management book, The Prince by Machiavelli.
I don't think it's on our list.
It's not on the list. That we'd be going back to the 15th century for that one. So
Maybe we should do another version then.
So-
Old classics. Tin Tower and
that's
the Art of
the
War.
yeah. Gosh, yeah.
But no, we're not doing that one.
Yeah. So influence through empathy rather than manipulation, which would be the non-Machiavellian way of doing
And
things.
being genuine about it.
Yeah, we talked about trust equation, that type of thing.
I think that's where people they read a book like this and they think, oh, I'm going to start being like that. But if they're not like that, then can it really, are you just overlaying a veneer on your fundamental
Yeah, it's
character?
a bit like NLP, isn't it? That's another one.
Is
Where
it?
it's just
Yeah.
like,
So it has a few takeaways about remembering people's names, doesn't it? Showing genuine interest, listening properly. And they're all good techniques, but it's not a substitute for really being that good listener, properly engaged, interested person.
So, yeah, I mean, it might be a bit dated in terms of its language, but people have been people. People are the same people they were in 1936 as they are in
we haven't evolved
2026.
that much, have we, in 90 years?
So,
But I think there's some good takeaways in there that it's worth doing. It's just about being humble and a nice person, and don't show people up in public and argue with them and stuff, and understand. It's all very good. Certainly in terms of winning friends and influencing people, and influencing people is a large part of running a business.
Yep.
We're running through the classics here. Jim Collins, Good to Great.
Yep.
25 years old this year, that one.
Yep.
That's become a bit of a mainstay, hasn't it, of business readers. But that was based a lot on data, wasn't it? Rather than just him having some ideas, he spent a long time doing the research on this.
I can't remember how many it was thousands of companies.
It was. Yeah, it was loads of, and he wanted to try and draw the distinctions or the separations. What marked out good companies, good leaders.
Yeah.
And he's done loads of other books on the back of it, hasn't he? Built to last and all that sort of thing. So I wonder how much of this today people just take for granted, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and are we living in a slightly different world to when these were?
Well, the first part is very much similar to your Dale Carnegie principles, isn't it? Combining humility with professionalism.
Yep.
Another advice he has on recruitment is first get the right people in, then work out what they're going to do, rather than the other way around, which is a bit counterintuitive to the way some people think about that these days. But if you can build a team of talent, you can almost do anything with it, is his theory, rather than saying I need a specialist in X and going to get one.
It's not the approach the A-team took, was it, really? They all had a specialism.
They definitely had a specialism, yeah.
Mad Murdoch.
Hedgehog concept. Know what you're passionate about? What can you become world class at?
Have you got a business model that supports it?
Yeah. Confronting brutal facts. And if you're going to be optimistic, then make sure that the facts back that up. Otherwise, you're just deluding yourself. Be disciplined. And then a bit like the flywheel, success building incrementally. That's a bit like your Fabian story at the beginning there, isn't it? It's not a silver bullet.
Yep.
It's about discipline across all fronts and sticking to it.
Yeah, I wonder how much of this applies to larger companies rather than SMEs.
That research was all done on large companies.
It was under large companies, wasn't it?
But as you pointed out, if you go back 100 years, a lot of those large companies that were in existence 100 years ago aren't today.
I read some interesting stats that I was going to write down about how long companies last for now on the S&P.
And I bet you that's sped up a lot, isn't it?
And it's something like, I think the average time now on the S&P is like 20 years, 25 years.
Wow.
Because they're either disappearing, M&A activity.
Yeah, merged in.
And things. And they're saying actually how long... I was looking up for how long a company... Only 1 in 4 companies make it to 15 years. And they're saying because a lot of
1 in 4?
1 in 4.
Right. Of any size, is that?
Any size.
That includes all that infant mortality stuff of startups.
Yep.
But you don't seem to have those... I suppose the whole world seems to be running faster these days, but the companies back in 1910, 1920, there are a few of those still around, I guess. And some that have survived certainly since the middle of the last century, the Procter & Gamble's and Unilevers and Goodyear and all that lot, Xerox.
And Vithik.
Richard is holding a bottle with a brand on it that I've never heard before. Vithit.
Vitamin. Getting free advertising here.
Yeah, they're not sponsoring the podcast.
No, I know.
Respect to our sponsors. We didn't talk about that, did we, in the last episode as well?
No.
Our new sponsors.
New sponsors.
Yeah, well, you heard about...
We've sold out. We've sold out.
Interesting to get feedback. Effective executive, Peter Drucker. 67.
You kind of think no one's written a management book in the last 30 years.
I know. The classics are the classics, right? Well, do you not think, though, when I don't know if you've picked them up in airport bookshops and flick through them, or just wonder about what to read. So many of them are rehashes of previous concepts.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they've got a management book in them, but
Yeah.
there's not that much that's new, are there? We can, this list of books pretty much covers the basics.
Nothing new under the sun.
So this one is about how executives spend their time, the effective executive,
Mm.
Peter Drucker. Slightly older than me, this book. It's that old.
Just
Papyrus. It's about the decisions you make.
Mm.
And they say that, don't they? Strategy is a collection of coherent decisions to deliver a plan. And to govern is to choose. That's a very common phrase we're hearing at the moment with our politics in this country. So, yeah, find out where you're spending your time and where you should be spending your time. Where are you contributing? Work on your, you do things that you're good at. This is another good question we had as well. Should you improve your weaknesses or delegate those and only work on your strengths? And I'd very much prefer the latter. I think if you try to improve your weaknesses, you'll only ever be medium at them. So know what you're good at, and that's a challenge. I don't think a lot of people either know or are prepared to confront the reality of what they're.
Well, I think should you work on your weaknesses? I think it depends on what your weaknesses are. I think if it's a skill that you're never going to be good at, then there's probably not a lot of point in trying to. There's no point in me trying to learn how to be a computer programmer.
Well, you don't need to anymore because AI will do it for you.
No, but as an example, isn't it? I just don't have the interest or the natural inclination towards it. But if you're talking about character and your weaknesses, then you should work on those because that's important. As Mr. Collins and Mr. Carnegie and Mr. Drucker, not Mr. Drucker, Covey would all say.
Stephen Covey, yeah.
That's an important thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's contextualising your weaknesses.
And then playing to your strengths.
Yeah.
And then doing what you're good at. And the whole point that Peter Drucker was making is that executives have their one currency, if you like, their common output is decisions. They've got to make high quality decisions. So, I think this runs counterintuitive to people who work up through an organisation where at the lower levels you're rewarded for being busy or for producing output in a more material sense, more sales or more production or more material for something or other, more reports, more marketing. It's actually okay, possibly even preferred, if you put yourself in a cold room, dark room for a day and just think. Maybe do that a bit more actively and get other people to bounce ideas off and challenge and meet different people and get out there and see the world. But to be able to make those really good decisions, I wonder how many chief execs you could boil down a 5-year history of a chief exec to the few good decisions they made that made a difference, as opposed to the myriad of minor day-to-day.
Well, and you need lots of inputs if you're going to make good decisions. So, as I say, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers.
All leaders are readers, yeah.
And so having those inputs and those frameworks, be a good podcast actually, decision-making frameworks. Be quite good.
There was something that did the other day, just out of devilment. I was in the car driving to a meeting, and on the radio came some news story about a Labour MP disagreeing with his leader about something. And, in the car, certainly certain makes of electric cars coming from America have got Grok built into them. You just push the button on the steering wheel and you have a bit of a chat with Grok. So I said, what would you do in that situation then? Describe the situation. And it was quite interesting. It came up with a very well thought argument as to why you should have a measured response, use the whip's office and all that. And I thought, well, that's quite interesting. If you were to, if you're in a position and you're not sure when you should be making decisions on how to make them, then AI won't get it right for you, for sure. It hasn't got enough context. Yeah. But ask it for an answer anyway, and then work out why you disagree with it. And you'll be training yourself then to make better decisions. Yeah. You say, well, what facts have you used? Well, I know more facts than you, or I'd interpret them differently, or put a different weighting on them. I think there's the danger we're educating ourselves into imbecility by just following this stuff blindly. But use it and work out why you don't agree with it.
It's like the blank sheet of paper syndrome, isn't it?
Yeah. So you talked about having good inputs for that one, which is a perfect link to the next book. You see how we did that? You're having a good old
real coffee.
I'll tell you that hit drink you've got. I'd send that back. Makes you cough.
I think it was the lentil crisps that have dried my throat out.
Okay. So the next book is High Output Management. Now, I must admit, I've not read this one.
No, I've not heard
Andrew
this one.
Gove, 1983. But the recommendation comes very high, and it's certainly one of the better sellers. And of course, if it's on the list, then it must be well read. Management's job is to maximise the output of the whole organisation rather than doing the work personally. And I guess this is the problem with any scaling organisation where entrepreneurs and founders are still in the business. They are used to manning the pumps, putting the finger in the dike, doing the thing. And it's quite an interesting transition, and you see a couple of different inflection points. We did this episode way back when, didn't we? The 7 ages of a company, where an owner steps back gradually in different things to the point where ultimately they're not involved at all. But in the early days, you're still tempted to do too much because you can. And so you've got to change your mindset, even as a middle manager. So it's not the fact that I've done it, but my team has done it.
Yeah.
So it's better to recruit that next member of the team, train them up, and make some more big decisions. But he was a big fan of the one-to-one meetings with the team. He's very, very team nurturing focused. And making sure the measures are right. And I think that's something that we all get wrong from time to time. We're so focused on the busyness of stuff and the demands on our time that the thing that gets missed is some of that longer term beneficial stuff like one-to-one meetings.
Yep.
And there's almost an instinct that feels that that's a bit indulgent. I'm just having a chat with you. That's not work, is it? We're just talking about where you're going. But of course, it's essential. It's how companies, how organizations grow. Yeah.
And that meeting should produce decisions, not discussions.
Yeah.
That's good.
So we've got a book next that's actually from this century.
Blue Ocean Strategy. So what's this all about?
Well, this is about looking over the horizon and almost blue sky, blue ocean. It's new stuff. So red oceans are where you're already operating. It's the market you're already in, the products you do, the people you know. That's the red ocean stuff, and all the competitors are fighting over that. So he's saying that businesses instead should be creating new markets. They're the blue oceans.
Blue oceans.
So there's lots of examples, aren't there, especially with the speed of technological change recently, where whole new industries and markets have been created that didn't exist before. Anything from pet psychology through to smartphones. That didn't exist 25 years ago.
Was it clear what was that other strategic thing about gaps in between things? That wasn't blue ocean, was it? That was
the gaps in between things.
It was like ocean. We had it with our friends in Bridgenorth. They had a whole strategy session around blue. It's not blue sky. It was some sort of ocean something or other, wasn't it? There's a whole other. There's a whole other management theory I can think of. I've lost it now, but it's something to do with oceans and different business units and the gaps between them. Maybe it's this.
Oh, maybe it was.
Could be
Blue Ocean Strategy. Well, it does ring a bell. This is W. Chan Kim and Renee Mauborgne. Yes, I think this is particularly relevant to companies that are getting a bit worried about where they're at now, not lasting. I've had a couple of conversations recently in board meetings where it almost feels, if you're in a bad mood day, that you think this is all going to hell in a handcart. The market's declining, or the competition is getting to the point where price is racing to the bottom. And that's where you need to then start thinking very differently about, what they're calling blue ocean strategy in this. The challenge is that people aren't programmed to do this. It's risky. And it's a sort of exercise that almost anybody thinks they're good at. If you can almost put a bunch of teenagers in a room saying, come up with a business idea, and you get a whole range of stuff.
Yeah.
The real challenge, like we said earlier on, is about making decisions and then working out how to test one of those. Remember the Ways to Play, How to Win philosophy, and what's the least likely thing that needs to be true for this to be a success, and then go and test it. So that was a lot of the learnings from the Blue Ocean Strategy. From 2005, only 20 years old.
Yeah.
Now this one, we mentioned this next a lot. Eric Rice. The Lean Startup, 2011.
Good book.
Great book. Yeah, as we said at the time, we've said lots of times since, that maybe time has moved on and all of its teachings are as relevant, certainly around some of the examples he gave about using Google Ads.
Yeah, I think the principles are very good.
I don't know whether he coined the phrase minimum viable product, the MVP, but certainly his book was all about it and he brought it to prominence. So don't do a full business setup and everything. Yeah. To the point now, as we've seen very readily across a number of examples, you can spin up a website that looks pretty full-featured and expansive very, very quickly these days.
Well, I think we've almost gone full circle on this in a way, because we've gone from, so in the book Lean Startup, it was like 5 cents Google Ads or something. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So you throw up a website, see what it looks like, put some ads to it, see what people do.
Smoke and mirrors, or what do you call it? Wizard of Oz or something?
Wizard of Oz.
You pretend something's happening automatically and you got people doing it.
So, but then I think we went through a phase, probably for, since the iPhone came out really, where all the apps look slick, everything. Yeah. So the minimum viable product then had to be as good as an app would. Otherwise,
was hard
people would
to-
think it was.
yeah.
So there was a real actual kind of barrier to entry to make an MVP that worked.
Because if
And
it looked
then
too flaky, then people would know.
People
what
would
it
know,
was,
and then it would be you get false negative. Whereas now with AI, we're almost back, sort of, to being able to test this stuff in a way. We're back to the sort of 5-cent Google ad equivalent.
Certainly in terms of the website stuff, you could point any AI worth its salt at an existing established big player and say, create me a copy of that, but with this different branding, this name, these colours, and with this angle. And by the end of the afternoon, you've got yourself a shop front online, and you can test it. And just to explain that whole Wizard of Oz thing, that the key point of that, didn't they do that with the supposed Amazon personless stores?
Stores, yeah.
And you went in some of those, didn't you?
Yeah.
And there's one over at the local hospital to us over in Telford, and you just go in and help yourself to one and walk out, and your credit card gets billed. Yeah. But they reckon there's just cameras everywhere and just people in low-wage economies watching what you pick up. Yeah. And but it gives the illusion of being all automated. So that was the idea of that, the lean startup. But I think it's still a lot of good evidence in there if you're going to start experimenting with different angles to your business.
Yeah, and when to pivot and that type of thing.
Oh, yeah, he came up with that, didn't he? Pivot.
Pivot.
If it's not working, don't throw it all away and start again from scratch, but change something around it. That the analogy was a basketball move, wasn't it? That's where pivot comes from. Keep one foot on the floor.
Yeah, but
move the other one.
Direction.
That's the pivot. And then, I don't know if this is the last one, but it's the last one on my list. The Goal by Eli Goldratt. 1984, because I remember reading this, jeepers, when I first went into manufacturing. And it became a bit of the Bible. It's one of those very accessible books. It reads like a story. And he presented the theory of constraints, which he didn't invent. That comes from the Japanese and Toyota and the Toyota manufacturing system. But he came up with a very easy way of explaining it using the analogy of a bunch of scouts, and there was a particularly slow, rotund scout, and if you put them at the back, then they get lost, and everybody at the front has to wait. And he established, the analogy was that people waiting around for someone else was waste, one of the 7 wastes. Whereas if you put the slow person at the front, then no one ever waits. You still arrive at the same time, and there's no wasted effort. So it was all about that, identifying where your bottleneck is, and then tying everything's production rate to the bottleneck.
Would you get there late?
You'd get there at the same time, but possibly still late, as late as you were before.
Yeah, I suppose the last person shows up at the same time, don't they?
Yeah.
You've all got to be there.
Exactly. It's like a plane can only take off when the last person's there, so what's the point of rushing to be first on? It always amazes me when you arrive in an airplane and everybody stands up quickly and gets their bags out of the lockers, and you're still not going to move any quicker, mate. No. You've got all these people in front of you, you've got to move first.
Exactly.
So I've got to take my hat off to the people who just sit there carrying reading their book.
Well, that's another great bit of holiday advice.
There you go, yeah.
There we go.
So they were the ones that came out as the sort of the classic top, 8 we did. What would be your others if you had to come up with some others on top of
that? I like Strategic Intuition by, I think it's William Duggan.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before on a couple of podcasts.
So that's very good for trying to, if you want to really try and think strategically about things, how to go about doing that. So that's, I'd recommend that. It's not a massive book either. Like some of these books are actually quite a weighty tone.
Yeah, it's very accessible.
Yeah. Good strategy, bad strategy we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Sometimes I quite like things like business model generation, business model canvas book, just to be able to. I think it's a nice book to be able to dip in and out of. You don't have to, sometimes if you're on holiday or something, you don't want to sit there and read through a textbook or something, but something you can dip in and out of.
I quite like the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. The various layers, trying to use the Maslow hierarchy model of the triangle and the 5 layers and establish trust. I rarely get teams past trust, really, because you can't do the challenge and all of that stuff unless you've got the trust. But that's a good example. Thinking fast and slow. I think that's as much about being aware that we have these 2 types of thinking, the lizard brain and you've got to really force yourself into type 2 thinking, but that's where you get your better decisions. It's about self-awareness again, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not out yet, probably not out yet for this holiday, but maybe for Christmas is the SME Growth Podcast book.
Is that going to be in all good bookshops?
It's going to be in all good bookshops at Christmas.
Yeah.
Sign up now for your free copy.
That's
Free copy. No, £10 a copy.
free as in
Maybe first,
available.
yeah.
Yeah.
First 3 people get a free copy.
Well, I look forward to that then. That sounds exciting.
So,
Is that going to be a collection of all the wisdom ever imparted on the SME
exactly.
Growth podcast?
Yes.
Is it a very big book?
It's not a big book,
No.
but it's full of, I don't know, something.
There you go. Now, if you're one of these people that just doesn't like reading at all, the other book that I have on the bookshelf that I flick in and out of every again, just because it's a very attractive book to read over coffee, is Information is Beautiful. And it's on the bookshelf over there, I think, behind my shoulder.
It is.
And it's just a fantastic example of good ways of presenting complex stuff. And there's a whole episode there, I think, in how to present information well. But that's a good example of that. So we've covered a few books there. I should imagine lots of people have read a lot of those already, but sometimes it's good to be reminded that all this wisdom is out there. And of course, you may well have younger managers or younger people on your team that won't have read some of these books. So perhaps give them a copy or work out which ones you'd like them all to be following along with. Good. Thank you for that.
There we go.
Thanks for the Whistle Stop Tour.
Whistle Stop Tour.
Book recommendations for the summer.
For the summer.
As you're going away on your holidays. Well, if you are going away on your holidays, then I hope you enjoy it and you manage to turn your emails off at least for a bit and have a bit of a rest. But don't forget, the SME Growth Podcast is carrying on. So if you need to be reassured that the world is still all well, then you can tune in to one of our episodes while you're away. Thanks a lot for listening. Please tell other people about it and good luck with your business.